Freddie Coleman every Friday on Big Board Sports on 104.5 Team ESPN Radio as we get set for Week 13. It started last night with a lopsided win by the Dallas Cowboys at home over the Washington Redskins. Good morning, Freddie. How are you today?
I'm good, my man. How was your holiday last week?
It was good, my man. I mean, people keep asking me if I took a nap, and I didn't. So,
but don't you realize nap is a nectar of the gods, my friend?
I know. I will. I'm going to try harder to get. In fact, I am tired today. So I may go home as soon as the radio show is over, before television tonight, and take a nap. Let's see if I can do that.
And believe me, you're welcome.
We're trying to make predictions on how Geno Smith will do getting the start. And I hate to even say that, but he is getting the start against the Raiders. What do you think? How do you think he'll perform at the Black Hole on Sunday?
Well, trying to predict Geno Smith, what he's going to do, you probably have a better chance of pulling the sword out of Excalibur and that stone before you try to figure out what Geno Smith is going to do, because with so much that has gone on this week leading into this, and I will say this, Geno Smith does not lack for confidence, and I think at times that's been good for him when he played with the Jets, and at times that's been bad for him when he played for the New York Jets. So he knows he's auditioning for a chance to stay in the National Football League, whether it's with the New York Giants next season or somebody else. I think Geno Smith will go out, and I think he'll do what he normally does. He'll make a play or two early with his legs and maybe with his arm, but then there'll be that one mistake that he'll make and have things go sideways against the New York Giants, mainly because I've seen that from Geno Smith time and time again when he played for the New York Jets.
Well, the only issue I have with this whole situation is how it was handled, really, from John Mara. I just think he needed to be more involved. I think he wanted something a little different with how this role would work with Eli. I think he really wanted him to start, and then if it were still a game, Freddie, that he would stay in the game. And if it weren't a game at halftime or in the third, then you bring in Geno or Davis Webb. But I think it was just handled poorly, and really I blame John Mara, who wasn't even in the building when this whole thing went down.
Here's the thing with that, and I'm with you in terms of how it was handled, because there's a better way to give a demotion to a guy that has started 210 straight games in Eli Manning for the New York Giants. The one thing that jumped out to me was John Mara said that he didn't like the way it was handled, but he didn't exactly say he didn't like the way that Ben McAdoo came to a decision to bench Eli Manning. So apparently John Mara is on board with this. And I wonder how much that Ben McAdoo did the dirty work for John Mara, who clearly knows that Eli Manning has been a depreciating value all year long. And not all of it has been his fault. When you have a left tackle in Eric Flowers who can't block air, you have wide receivers that are dropping the football, Odell Beckham Jr. is injured, your running game has been inconsistent like we've seen the last 3 years. You can't place all this at the feet of Eli Manning, even though his play has been subpar at times. But that's the one thing I looked at and I said, boy, John Mara is on board with this decision, because he didn't criticize the decision. He criticized the way it was presented to Eli and the way it was put out there in the public. So my thought process was, well, apparently he may have been thinking about this long before they decided to make this decision this week. And Ben McAdoo was going to be the guy that was going to be his henchman and say off with Eli Manning's head. Can you imagine if Geno Smith doesn't play well and Davis Webb doesn't play well, what that conversation is going to be like to say, hey, Eli, you mind saving our butts again? Eli may tell them to go scratch and look for somewhere else to be next year, which is what's going to happen.
And I hope if it gets to that scenario, that's exactly what Eli Manning decides to do.
And that's what I would do, because I'm thinking, okay, you guys have made a decision that you want to move on to the future. Well, you know what? In my head, I've already moved on to my future playing for somebody else. I'm not going to bail you guys out like I've done time and time again in 2 Super Bowls. Or when you find Tom Coughlin, I played the good soldier. You know what? My days of being that good soldier and bailing you out are over, because if it's one thing you want to bench me, I'm not okay with it, but I understand it. But the way you guys did it, why should I trust you and give you guys loyalty when you did not show that to me this past week?
Freddie, what if in some alternate universe, Ben McAdoo has had this thing right all along? Remember, you go back to the signing of Geno Smith, we all thought he was crazy when he said, yeah, I could see Geno being here long-term and the, quote, successor to Eli Manning. What if McAdoo ends up being right and the rest of us are the crazy ones?
Well, I don't know if we're crazy. It'll be a case of a decision that worked out for him. I just have my doubts about that. But to piggyback off of what you just said, what if Ben McAdoo is the last man standing out of these 3, between Jerry Reese, the general manager, and also Eli Manning, the quarterback? Because it would not surprise me if the New York Giants are going to go forward, if they have more faith in Ben McAdoo, find a general manager that's going to be on the same line with him. You get him the quarterback that he needs if you don't believe he's on his roster. And Jerry Reese has not been any great shakes for the New York Giants in the last 4 to 5 years. It wouldn't surprise me, knowing how the Giants have operated in previous years, that if they believe Ben McAdoo is their guy for the future, that they'll tie their fortunes to him, and he's the last man standing, and Jerry Reese is unemployed, and Eli Manning's probably in Jacksonville somewhere. Wow. Probably Jacksonville somewhere next year.
I mean, what a mess. What a mess this has been. There's so many layers to this story. It's a different one every day. Freddie Coleman is with us, as always, on Friday with ESPN, and here with us on 104.5 at Team ESPN Radio in Albany. Freddie, you think the Bills have a shot to beat the Patriots this weekend in Buffalo?
If they're going to do that, their defense better look like the 1990 Bills defense with Bruce Smith and Darryl Talley and those guys, because New England's offense is just rolling downhill on people. And now the defense has been able to step up and shut down, where they've gotten a consistent pass rush against the quarterback. They've been able to stop the running game and force you to play your opposite hand instead of being strong with your strong hand. I think the way that the Patriots have been able to play, and they've been able to find their groove the last 6 weeks or so, Buffalo has played better. We saw how they played last week with Tyrod Taylor. They really shut down a struggling Kansas City team. But New England, they're just a team in a different galaxy right now. They're playing that way, where you look at them and you say, okay, I know the NFC is strong and Pittsburgh's really good, but the road to the Super Bowl goes through New England. Buffalo has a chance, but it's a slight chance. I still see New England coming out of this game with a 17-point win, because they've been playing that well lately, and Buffalo is still a flawed team that's not good enough to overcome their flaws and find a way to win this one.
Freddie, when I walked into work at News Channel 13 yesterday afternoon, Roger was locked in to the Hero World Challenge. That's the only time to be able to say those words, probably, but it was because, of course, of Tiger Woods. After his 3-under round, are you buying in?
Not yet, but I'll say this: compared to last year when we heard the same thing from Tiger Woods, it looked different yesterday. He looked healthier. It looked like he's in more command of his shots, and even when he had a stumble early on, it didn't completely unnerve him and wreck his round. He was able to bounce back from that and make some quality shots. And I know it's not a PGA major. It's not one of the high-end events on the PGA Tour. But golf is just better when Tiger Woods is around. And that's not being disrespectful to Jordan Spieth or Dustin Johnson or Rory McIlroy. But last year when Tiger Woods played in this challenge on the Golf Channel, ratings were 190% more than they were the year before, and he only played one round. So if he's around for the weekend, you know that people are going to be interested to see, okay, what kind of Tiger Woods are we going to see? He's always going to move the needle, period, end of story. And golf is just better when he's around, especially if it's out there that, okay, what is he going to look like? That factor will play into a lot of people as a casual golf fan or a hardcore golf fan. And you saw exactly Roger yesterday watching an event in the Bahamas. That doesn't matter when it comes to points on the PGA Tour, but that's because of Tiger Woods.
Yeah, changed my itinerary big time yesterday. I went off the beaten path when I got to work. Hey, one more from me, Freddie, and that is what a weekend, Saturday championship in college football. Do you expect to see any upsets, or do you think it will be the top 4 teams all winning, and we have status quo, and we have nothing crazy going on when they announce the final pairings on Sunday? What do you think happens championship Saturday?
I got 2 potential ones of the top 4.
Okay.
It would not surprise me if Georgia finds a way to get revenge and beat Auburn, and here's why. Number one, the revenge factor, because Georgia got the fool beaten out of them by Auburn 40-17. And number 2, Kerryon Johnson, their running back, is going to be a game-time decision. He is the one that brings toughness to that football team, and everybody feels it. If he's less than that guy that was second in the SEC in rushing and bringing that toughness, then Georgia has more of a chance to stop the running game and force Jarrett Stidham to beat them with his arm. So I think that's a potential upset there. And I don't think Wisconsin's going to beat Ohio State. Ohio State, talent-wise, is more talented than Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin is really good. They're aggressive on defense. They have that outstanding running game. But in moments like this, I'm going to trust a team in Ohio State that will love to do to Wisconsin what we saw Penn State do last year in the Big Ten championship game. The only problem with that is that means the Big Ten won't have a team in the Final Four in the college football playoff. But the talent of Ohio State, Urban Meyer in big games, that's a game I could see going Ohio State's way and not Wisconsin's way, even though Wisconsin has all the motivation in the world, because they know plenty of people look at them and don't believe they're as good as their 12-0 record.
So, Freddie, Ohio State would need help aside from just beating Wisconsin to get in your mind?
Oh, they wouldn't need help. They would need a miracle, to be honest with you. They would literally need everybody else in front of them outside of Alabama who's not playing because their season is over to fall down in front of them. I could see one or two things happening that way, but not all four things happening that way for Ohio State. But remember this. The committee has shown that they can do some really unpredictable things when unpredictable things happen on a championship Saturday. So keep an eye on that. Ohio State is not fully out of it, but I don't know if they have a great chance if things don't happen in front of them or if a lot of things happen in front of them to be in the Final Four for the third straight year.
Freddie, you're the best, man. Thanks for, as always, popping on with us here on the Friday show in Albany. We appreciate it, and have a great weekend.
You too, guys. Always good to talk to you, and you take care.